that was moving to. I always love hearing people's stories about their connections to music and what informs their story. Like, one of the most interesting things is when a person tells me their favorite song, their favorite concert, their favorite memory connected to music, because it tells so much. We're going to talk today as we kind of wrap up this series, not by in any way putting a period on this conversation, because I think that music is something that we could talk about a lot. As a matter of fact, I've already thought that this would be a great series to kind of bring back in a part two, because we can always talk about music. Music is always changing and evolving, and as David said, I really hope, if nothing else, this series, these talks, motivate you to connect to music more, to listen more intentionally. Someone in pre-talk shared a story about, after listening to Michael D. Wild's talk a few weeks ago while I was gone, went out and bought a Marvin Gaye album. And after buying the album, then went to go place it in among their hundreds of other records, and then having to reorganize and pull it out and label all your music as you do. And then what you do when you do that is, of course, you reconnect with old favorites, and you put this on, and you're like, oh, I remember this. And that's the power of music, is it pulls us in. And what I want to, my premise this morning as I kind of wrap up is that music has a very therapeutic quality. I don't think that's an overstatement of a premise. I don't think many of you would disagree with me on that. We're going to talk about the ways it's used. I'm only going to just kind of scratch the surface, because there's so many deep wells that we could draw on in this conversation. But I want to talk about how music helps us remember, how it helps us regulate our nervous systems, and how it helps us connect with each other in community, and it helps us carry truths when words alone aren't sufficient. First, the title of this morning's talk. If you haven't noticed, in each of these talks, at least the ones that I've done in this series, I've tried to pick a talk title based upon a popular song. You know, Good Vibrations, People Get Ready, The Sound of Silence. Each talk has been a song title. This week's talk, I was trying to think about music as a therapeutic medium or modality. You know, what songs speak to that? And I kind of went through some. I mean, Fix You by Coldplay, but that's not talking about music, and music doesn't fix anything. And somewhere along the way, I landed in my research upon the song, Let the Music Heal Your Soul. So first of all, does anyone know this pop song? It was on the charts. It was bigger in Europe, especially in Germany, than it was in the United States. But it had a couple of very well-known American bands at the time. Anybody know this song? Okay, you do know this song? From 1998? Okay, we're going to see. This was new to me here. So this was by the, let's see here. I'll try it this way. This was by the Bravo All-Stars in 1998. And what this was a German music magazine that brought together some of their best boy bands and groups that were emerging, and paired them up with some of the best known boy bands in the States at the time. It included The Boys, Caught in the Act, the Moffats. Aaron Carter makes an appearance in the music video. In Sync, Boys to Men, Mr. President. This music video in and of itself is hilarious to watch. Has 3 different varieties of Eurodance. Sarah Brightman makes an appearance with the London Session Orchestra, and apparently every other remaining person on the studio lot that they could find with frosted hair to pull into the music video and collab. And like a lot of the We Are the World kind of anthems that emerged in the day, this very much had that feel. If you're looking for some really deep and insightful music, lyrics, you would probably look elsewhere than let the music heal your soul, because it is cheesy to the point of being campy and adorable when one of the boy band members, who I can't recall, is staring into the camera with his eyes and is talking about the magic of, if you have a piano and if you play that piano with certain chords, maybe someone will hear that piano and it will. It's basically that cheesy. So I had a lot of fun listening to it. I'm going to link to this music video in the newsletter that goes out this week so you can enjoy it. But that's the talk this week. And also, I think this also ties in because one other little tidbit is when this track was written, this was a benefit track as was popular in the 90s. This actually raised money for the Norhoff Robbins Music Therapy Foundation, which used live music therapy to help children with autism and disabilities back in 1998. So while the song was cheesy and the effort that was put into it was questionable, the result of what actually came out of that was pretty amazing. So in this series, I want to talk about, or in this talk, I want to wrap up by looking at some of the ways that music therapy is being used today, some of the ways that you and I can use it as well. And we're going to distinguish between therapy in a medical and therapeutic sense and the ways that I'm talking about it being simply good for us. So my first story and example came back in November when my father-in-law was at the end of his cancer battle and was going through hospice care here in Holland. Some of you remember, sent cards during that time. While he was at this house in Holland, the hospice team offered a tremendous amount of resources and support. And one of the things that they offered was music therapy, was to have someone come in and to do music therapy with the person undergoing hospice care. And the first time we had this adorable young lady come in who was quite proficient in her guitar playing, her singing, had the sweetest attitude, and she began to kind of mine Gary, my father-in-law, for the types of music and songs. And of course, he liked Southern gospel music, so there was some songs by the Gaithers and some old hymns. And then there's just some older classic songs. I have just a little clip so you can kind of get a feel of what the atmosphere was like, because that was the amazing thing, is when she would come in and would pull out her guitar, it turned into a communal singing time together that was incredibly special. The ability, the gift to be able to bring music to someone at the end of their life is a treasure. I don't know if you've had the opportunity to hear songs sung, to participate in any kind of singing at the bedside of someone who's transitioning. It's a moving and powerful experience. And in those moments, you realize, oh, this is what human beings have been doing for thousands of years. This is very normal. This is right. Music therapy as a modality there's training through, and there's organizational certifications through organizations such as American Music Therapy Association. They have a wonderful website with lots of great resources for people who are both looking to get into music therapy if they are a musician, as well as ways that you can engage with music therapy, because there are a host of different ways that music can help our bodies. And it's important to note, even with things like the music therapist that came in for my father-in-law, the music didn't cure or fix what was happening, nor were we looking for it to do that. But what the music did is it gave us a way to be together in that experience. It brought us together in a way that, as David said, music so often does. In memory care, quite a few of you may be familiar with some who are going through this right now. In memory care, familiar music can be used to create or trigger autobiographical memory. Music is very much tied to parts of our brain that remember details and events. And that's why somebody who's lost all but the most common and everyday of conversational traits are able to recall music from decades ago because it is embedded so deep in our historical memory. We also briefly touched on in pre-talk that research is emerging about the importance of music and that there's a reason why teenagers are always listening to music as the older people are always complaining, that is something that probably you did too during that era. You may not have had the iPhones or the Beats headphones or quite the access to it, but that adolescent years, those developmental years, music is very much a part of developing that personality, that identity, that social glue that connects you. And as I said, in memory care, these certain songs can trigger autobiographical memory, emotions, or engagements. And in hospice or palliative care, music therapy, as you saw, uses singing and listening and improvisation and songwriting to help bridge the gap between things that we don't oftentimes have the words to say. And it's also worth pointing out, I thought this was interesting, that the first music therapy degree program in the world was founded at Michigan State University. So this is a look at your brain and some of the different ways, not anatomically of course, but some of the ways that our brain responds to music. Listening to music causes us to release dopamine, which is a feel-good chemical. It feels good to listen to music, especially more familiar music. Songs that you know and like that trigger positive memories will produce a higher rush of dopamine. Music also acts as a distractor. It focuses attention away from negative stimuli, and for some therapists, that is a very, very helpful tool to be able to offer a patient in therapy the ability to soften the effects of traumatic memory by distracting. Music has the ability to alter, according to studies, and this is research is proving again and again, to alter our breathing, to alter our heart rate. This is no surprise to you. You know that there are certain songs that you can listen to that lower your stress response, that make you feel more relaxed. And then, of course, if you've been at some of the concerts like the ones that I go to, there are certain ones that can elevate you and make you feel more excited, that can make you want to jump into the mosh pit. Do we have any mosh pit veterans in the room tonight? Come on. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got to have more than just 4 people in this room who have been in a mosh pit. Is that true? Oh my gosh. Okay. So Ruth and Max at the end, we're going to do a mosh pit right here. We're going to fix that here this morning. Y'all need to be in a mosh pit. Safe ones. You pick a mosh. Oh my gosh. What is a mosh pit was asked. Okay. Thank you for asking. If you're asking, others are asking the question. A mosh pit is a communal form of engaging with the artist at the front of the crowd, and it usually looks like a bunch of people jumping together and pushing off of one another. And you're keeping, the rules of mosh pit is you keep your arms and legs kind of like this, so that you kind of have a little bit of a buffer, so that when somebody pushes you, you've got some shock to absorb you. And the whole way to engage with a mosh pit is just to kind of go with the flow. It feels very much, if you've ever been to the ocean as a kid and got out too far and then a really big wave came in and just kind of like tipped you over and you didn't know which way was up, and then for a while then you come up and you breathe and you thought you were going to die. That's a close approximation of what a mosh pit can feel like. And it's a ton of fun. It's a ton of fun. Oh, music has the power to improve your state of mind. This can help things like depression and keep things like depression and anxiety at bay. All of us have probably experienced the power of our mood being changed in real time from a song or an album that was playing. New album just dropped this week. I sent to a few friends by Reverend Barron, an artist that I follow. And this album is such a wonderful guitar instrumental album that I've played so many times. And I can already tell this one's going to like find a very well-used spot in my rotation. When you find tracks and albums that your body and your nervous system respond to, make note of them. Find ways that you can use them, because altering your state or improving your state of mind is one of the things that music excels at. It can help reduce the perception of pain. This is emerging research that alongside of other medications or modalities, that music can help your brain release some of the information that's coming into it that can be so overwhelming. And music with a strong beat, somebody said earlier in pre-talk that they respond to music with rhythm, and we talked about that even in a series as well. Music with a strong beat can stimulate brain waves. Slow beats encourage the slow brain waves that are associated with hypnotic or meditative states. Faster beats may encourage more alert or concentrating music. There's types of music that can do different things. Maybe if you were young enough to be able to study with music, you may have found certain songs or albums or types of music that lend itself towards certain types of creative writing. Some people respond really well to EDM or IDM, electronic digital music, and these dance type beats that are hypnotic and fast and repetitive, 120 to 150 beats per minute, these driving dance rhythms that do something to the brain's ability to be able to perceive things. And so there's lots of music. The point is, no one track has a universal response. We all respond differently to different types of music, and that's okay. When somebody says, I really like this certain era, or this is the era I feel most comfortable in, and then apologize, there's nothing to apologize for. That is an era of music your body, your brain, your memory, and your nervous system feels comfortable in. That's a safe place for you. And that's okay to spend time there. Got a few quotes here. This one from Jodi Picoult, who wrote a novel called Sing You Home. Did anybody in here read that book by chance? One or two. The music, or the book, the story revolves around a music sound therapist. And so in researching for the book, she did a lot of work with music therapy and learning a lot about it. And Jodi said, music therapy to me is music performance without the ego. Meaning you're coming into this setting not to say, like, how well did I do at playing the song, but the whole goal is to provoke a response in somebody else. It's not about entertainment as much as it is with empathizing, to connect with the emotions of another. A trained musical therapist has the ability to match the music to the mood, to know what types of music are needed in the types of therapy. If you can use music to slip past the pain and gather insight into the working of someone else's mind, you can begin to fix a problem. So sound helps the body regulate. This is a picture of someone performing a sound bath with these quartz singing bowls. We've had an artist use them here before. We were going to try to arrange a sound bath after one of our talks in the series and couldn't make it work. But how many, by show of hands, have participated in a sound bath with any type of singing bowls? Okay, quite a few of you. It's becoming more popular and a more common modality. It's a way to allow our body to relax. And anybody who's participated in it have mostly had pretty positive responses. I've also participated, in addition to some sound baths, in Denver a couple of years ago. I had the opportunity to be in a group It was a psychedelic assisted but psychedelic optional gathering. So there was about 150 of us, and it was led by an artist named East Forest. And so East Forest had this variety of musical sounds and instruments and loops. And together as a group, we went on this musical journey. And there's so many different ways that music is emerging as a powerful, powerful tool. Oliver Sacks, in his book, Musicophilia, Tales of Music in the Brain, he says, music, uniquely among the arts, is both completely abstract and profoundly emotional. It has this unique power to express inner states of feelings. Music can pierce the heart directly. It needs no mediation. I could tell you up here with words about tales of woe and heartbreak and loss. If I were more creative and artistic, I could write a poem about it or do some spoken word. But this is coming from me as a public speaker, as someone who makes speaking their livelihood. I cannot, on my best day, compare the best spoken word with a chord that says something that words could never describe. There are chords and songs that pluck the strings of your heart and make you feel the feelings that that artist was feeling when they wrote it. You can feel the sadness and loss and grief. One of the examples was that we played earlier in the series, Johnny Cash's cover of Hurts by 9 Inch Nails. It takes an artist like Johnny Cash to sing a song like that and to perform it in such a way to be able to connect with that story, and that music is acting as more than just a backdrop for those words. It is telling a story in and of itself. Music can be a powerful, powerful catalyst. It is used in a variety of therapy modalities. We're not going to even be able to talk about all of them. One that is getting a lot of attention is music in psychedelic-assisted therapy. Psychedelic-assisted therapy, which includes ketamine, which is a very, very popular and promising treatment for treatment-resistant depression, utilizes, along with the medications, utilizes music soundtracks. And new studies now, such as this one that just came out in Double Blind this past week, the article said, does music matter more than the dose in psychedelic healing? Music is the real medicine, and the basic premise is that music is not a passive component in this therapy, that it may actually be doing the majority of the work. And as someone who has participated in some psychedelic experiences, guided and otherwise, with music, I can tell you emphatically from personal experience, the entirety of the experience is dictated by the musical accompaniment. That's part of the set and setting that we talked about last year when we were in that psychedelic summer series. Some of you may remember. But music matters, and new studies are coming out to say that if you're engaging in any type of new treatments, such as ketamine or psychedelic-assisted therapy, to spend as much time thinking about the music or engage with, hopefully, a practitioner who has spent time finding the right music to support the experience. I'll give you one personal example as I kind of wrap up. Some of you know and have heard Ruth Zwald earlier this year during an especially difficult time and season in my life and in my journey. I was reaching for all of the modalities that I knew, so I was in regular therapy with my therapist. I saw Ruth a couple of times. I saw my spiritual director. But during my sessions with Ruth, who comes from a shamanic background, she had different advice and modalities to use. And we did this experience where I closed my eyes and was receiving wisdom from the celestial, from the stars in the universe, and receiving wisdom from the earth. And she asked me to kind of verbalize what I heard. And for what I received in that experience, I said that I felt that the earth, which was still transitioning out of winter and was still on the tail end of winter, it wasn't putting out new buds yet. The trees were still dormant. And I said that the winter trees draw their nourishment inward. They don't rush to make leaves before the season is ready. So the wisdom that I heard from that was to slow down and let the process unfold. The wisdom from the universe, the celestials, what I heard and experienced is that galaxies and stars work in millennia over thousands and millions of years and across light years. And my timeline was not the universe's timeline. So the wisdom I heard was trust what I cannot control. And what that distilled down to over a couple of weeks as I spent some time journaling were these kind of dual truths that I hung to. I trust the season that is shaping me, and I move slowly with what is becoming. And Ruth encouraged me to find a way. She's like, I'd encourage you to find a mantra or a song or a way to be able to put that to music so you can remember that and can call on that. And I'm not a musician. I listen to music a lot, but I've never written anything. This is going to be an interesting little tidbit that's going to tie into our next series when we start getting into AI. But there happens to be a tool that is available that I used in this particular context. The tool is called Suno. And Suno is one of the emerging digital songwriting creation tools. There's a lot to be said about it. It has a lot of very negative connotations for the industry. However, it also allowed somebody like me, with the space of time of about an hour or two, to be able to write a description of what I needed, which was a short meditative style chant, like a kirtan chant, that I could take these lyrics and use and develop into this mantra. And so this is what emerged out of that, and something that has allowed me to be able to personalize and internalize these truths.
I trust the season that is shaping me. I trust the season that is shaping me. I move slowly with what is becoming. I move slowly with what is becoming. I do not hurry what is holy. I do not hurry what is holy. I trust the season that is shaping me. I trust the season that is shaping me.
So we've talked about the different ways that music can be therapeutic in a truly medical, psychological sense. It's helped therapists working with all sorts of patients. But what I would like us to kind of keep in mind are the ways that music is a therapy for our own souls. The title of the talk, Let Music Heal Your Soul, is a bit cliche, but I do think it has the power to improve our state of being, to heal parts of our soul that are hurting, to help us access memories and emotions that are difficult to drag up otherwise. I believe music is entirely possible to transform us, to dislodge things in us that need to be dislodged. And whether you use modalities and tools like this to create tracks like this, or you find other artists or musicians that have written things that are equally or better for your circumstances. Whatever it is that you need to do, spend some time and allow the music to access the parts of your soul that need to be healed, that need to give voice to something. I'll close with this last quote by Mary Oliver, and I love that we have quoted from her multiple times this morning. She's kind of our guide on this experience, I would say. Mary Oliver said it this way, and this is such a great picture of her with her dog, isn't it? She said, "I believe in kindness and also in mischief." That's Mary Oliver for you. Also in singing, especially when singing is not necessarily prescribed. So, on that note, let's invite dear Ruth and Max to come back up. I love that, as David said, even though the singing was not prescribed, all of you engaged in it, and I hope that maybe there's a song or two in our conclusion that you might know and can sing along to as well.